Earth's distant colonies died in silence, one after another, with only fragments of distress signals slipping through the void before collapsing into static. The final message, grainy, desperate, spoke of shadows that moved with impossible coordination, cutting down entire defense regiments in minutes. By the time Earth's high command assembled to assess the damage, 3 outer worlds had already vanished from the star charts. Rumors flooded the networks. The Koru Dominion had unleashed its legendary assassins, 10,000 in number, each engineered to bypass armor, evade detection, and extinguish resistance with inhuman precision. Ordinary armies could not stop them. Cities fell before their presence was even confirmed. In a secured briefing chamber beneath the Atlantic bulwark, the surviving commanders reviewed the evidence with hollow faces. Grainy footage revealed dark, slender figures weaving through fortified corridors, their movements synchronized like a single organism. They left behind no trace except the bodies of soldiers who never even raised their weapons. Analysts estimated Earth had less than 2 weeks before the Dominion directed its full force toward the homeworld. Most of the room spiraled into panic, proposing evacuation plans, desperate alliances, or the reactivation of outdated planetary shields that would crumble within minutes. But the atmosphere shifted when Director Valen of the Silent Directorate entered. His voice was measured, almost calm, yet it cut through the chaos. He declared that Earth's armies were irrelevant in the face of the Dominion's assassins. Conventional resistance would be swallowed whole. The only viable strategy was asymmetric. 2 individuals, not divisions. Specialists rather than legions. Whispers broke out, thick with disbelief, until Valen displayed 2 classified profiles. The first bore the moniker Reaper. His true name had long been redacted, replaced by a record of missions carried out in brutal war zones. He had survived battles that should have erased him, emerging instead as a figure soldiers spoke of with awe and unease. His armor, reinforced with adaptive plating and crowned by a stark, bone-like mask, had become a symbol whispered throughout the underworld. Every movement of his carried the weight of someone who had chosen to abandon the luxury of fear. The second profile revealed a stark contrast. Where the Reaper embodied aggression honed into a weapon, the ninja represented discipline forged through centuries of tradition. Raised in a secluded enclave where ancient martial arts merged seamlessly with modern augmentation, he mastered silence as both art and philosophy. He carried a katana forged from alloys capable of slicing through reinforced exosuits, yet he moved with a serenity that suggested he sought balance, not blood. His eyes, calm yet calculating, made it clear he read the world in layers others could not perceive. Valen explained that these 2 operatives, so different in temperament and method, represented Earth's only chance. The Reaper excelled in overwhelming force, disrupting enemy formations through raw momentum and psychological shock. The ninja specialized in precision, exploiting fractures in systems and mind alike. Alone, each was formidable. Together, they formed a countermeasure capable of slipping beneath the Dominion's unified strategy. The Council resisted at first, clinging to familiar strategies, but the silent acknowledgement grew. Earth had no armies left strong enough to matter. Only individuals who defied ordinary limits could carve a path through 10,000 assassins. Eventually, the vote passed, heavy with resignation. As the meeting dissolved, Valen remained, studying the final transmission from the colonies one more time. Shadows flickered across the screen, swift and merciless. Yet he felt a quiet certainty. The Dominion believed Earth weak, predictable. They had no understanding of the 2 figures now preparing in hidden chambers beneath the planet's surface. And when the assassins came, they would learn the cost of underestimating humanity. The Reaper stood inside the armory's pale lighting, motionless except for the faint lift of his breath. Technicians moved around him with practiced urgency, locking reinforced plates into place along his exosuit. Each segment clicked with a low metallic note that echoed across the chamber, yet none of the staff spoke. Their silence was not enforced. It was instinctive. The Reaper's presence made words feel unnecessary, almost intrusive. He radiated a gravity that pulled focus inward, toward the mission no one dared to question. His mind drifted briefly to the battlefield that had forged him, the outpost ambush where he alone had crawled from beneath the wreckage, refusing to let the Dominion's cruelty be the last thing he witnessed. That memory had hardened into a vow. Now, as the final armor piece sealed around his frame and the mask settled over his face, the vow sharpened. 10,000 assassins were cutting across the stars, and he intended to meet them with the full extent of what he had become. Across the complex, the ninja completed his own preparations, though his environment was starkly different. Instead of metal walls and humming machinery, he occupied a quiet circular chamber lined with woven mats. The simplicity grounded him. He knelt with his sword before him, palms resting lightly on the scabbard as he breathed with slow precision. His enhancements, subtle augmentations woven through musculature and neural pathways, remained dormant until called upon, but his discipline did not rely on technology. His strength came from understanding the interplay between movement and stillness, violence and restraint. He rose smoothly and strapped the blade to his side. Shadows seemed to cling to him, slipping across his garments with each step, though nothing in the chamber moved. His instructors had once told him that clarity was a warrior's greatest shield. Today, as the Dominion's threat loomed, clarity meant accepting that fear existed only to be acknowledged and then dismissed. The two operatives converged in the mission briefing hall, the air thick with the hum of concealed projectors. Valen waited at the center, expression carved from years of impossible decisions. The Reaper arrived first, boots heavy against the steel floor. The ninja followed moments later, his steps barely audible. Their eyes met briefly, one gaze cold and unyielding, the other calm and analytical. They recognized the differences instantly. Valen activated the display, revealing a holographic rendering of the frozen moon that served as the Dominion staging point. Terrain fractals shimmered, dense forests, jagged ice formations, buried structures carved into the subcrust. Thousands of assassin signatures pulsed as crimson lights across the projection. The Dominion deploys its legions from here, Valen said, his tone devoid of embellishment. If they launch, Earth will be overwhelmed before our defenses can respond. Your mission is to infiltrate the encampment, locate the command nexus, and destabilize the assassin network before the invasion activates. The Reaper asked no questions. He simply analyzed the layout, internalizing every pattern. The ninja stepped closer, tracing the corridors of the projected base with his eyes. Their coordination is their advantage, he said quietly. Disrupt the center, and the rest fractures. Valen nodded. Exactly. You two will strike where our armies cannot. Your methods differ, but together you may create the chaos we need. A brief tension settled between the operatives, not of hostility, but of calculation. They were opposites by design, yet their skills intertwined with the precision of gears. The Reaper broke the silence first. We launch immediately. The ninja dipped his head in agreement, accepting the partnership without hesitation. As they departed toward the waiting stealth craft, the lights shifted to red alert, signaling the Dominion's approach. The timing was no coincidence. Their window was narrow, perhaps unforgiving. But neither operative looked back. Whatever waited on the frozen moon, they would face it together, and the galaxy would learn what Earth sent in answer to 10,000 killers. The frozen moon loomed beneath the stealth craft, like an abandoned world sculpted from ice and silence. As the Reaper and the ninja descended into the atmosphere, the cabin lights dimmed to a muted blue, matching the somber glow of the planet's surface. Their landing produced only a whisper against the snowdrifts, and the engines powered down until the craft vanished into the white landscape. The air outside was sharp enough to sting exposed skin, though neither operative hesitated. The mission had begun the moment their boots touched the ground. The Reaper scanned the tree line with a thermal visor, watching faint clusters of heat signatures shift in coordinated formations. Dominion assassins patrolled with mechanical precision, their movements barely distinguishable from the wind-blown patterns of the forest. The Reaper's grip tightened on his rifle, instinct urging him to strike immediately, but he suppressed the impulse. Recklessness would cost them more than time. Beside him, the ninja knelt and pressed a gloved hand to the snow, reading subtle vibrations beneath the surface. Tunnels ran below, carved expertly through layers of ice to conceal troop transports and communication lines. The Dominion had chosen this moon not for its desolation, but for its natural ability to mask sound and movement. His voice emerged as a soft murmur. "We follow the outer corridor. It leads to their staging platform." The Reaper nodded, trusting the ninja's assessment without questioning it. Their combined strengths thrived when instinct met calculation. Together, they slipped into the shadowed forest, the Reaper breaking through drifts with deliberate steps while the ninja glided like a phantom between the trees. The first assassins appeared moments later. Sleek figures melded into the environment with armor tinted to mimic frost. Their approach was nearly silent, but not silent enough. The ninja's blade flashed in a crescent arc, severing the lead assassin's momentum before a sound escaped. The Reaper pivoted, firing 3 suppressed rounds that struck the next attackers with brutal finality. They moved as a single unit, each kill swift and necessary. But the Dominion responded quickly. More signatures converged, closing in with the lethal grace of a hunting pack. The Reaper set a proximity mine and dragged the ninja behind an outcropping just as the snow erupted in a controlled blast, scattering attackers and breaking their formation. He surged forward, turning debris and chaos into opportunity, while the ninja slipped behind disoriented enemies, eliminating them with precise, measured strikes. Despite their success, the numbers kept climbing. The assassins learned with each exchange, adjusting patterns, attempting to isolate the operatives. The Reaper felt the pressure building like a storm around them, but the ninja's calm presence anchored him. "We cannot fight the entire legion here," the ninja said, voice steady even as he parried a strike. "The command nexus is close. We destabilize it, or we die to their persistence." They pressed deeper into the Dominion encampment, reaching a ridge that overlooked the central hub, a vast structure carved into the ice, illuminated by pulsing veins of artificial light. Thousands of assassins stood in organized ranks, awaiting deployment orders. At the center, a crystalline tower channeled signals to every unit on the moon. "This is their mind," the Reaper said quietly. "And their weakness," the ninja replied. Sliding down the ridge, they moved with renewed purpose. The Reaper blasted open an access conduit, drawing immediate attention, while the ninja infiltrated the tower through a narrow maintenance gap. Inside, he navigated the labyrinth with uncanny agility, planting disruption charges at critical junctures. Meanwhile, the Reaper became the decoy, holding off waves of assassins through sheer ferocity and resolve. The charges detonated in a cascade of shattering light. The tower's pulse fractured, and confusion rippled through the legion outside. Assassins staggered, movements desynchronized, strikes misaligned. Breathing hard but unbroken, the 2 operatives regrouped at the tower's edge. They had toppled the heart of the Dominion's control, but the moon was far from quiet, and the collapsing system promised consequences neither had yet seen. The shockwave from the collapsing tower rippled across the frozen moon, scattering fractured light through the air like shards of dying stars. The assassins outside convulsed as their perfect synchronization unraveled, each warrior suddenly severed from the Dominion's guiding will. What had once been a unified legion now writhed in chaotic disarray, movements jagged and uncoordinated. The Reaper watched from the tower's shadow, chest rising in slow, deliberate breaths as he gauged the shifting battlefield. The danger had not vanished, but it had changed, and he adjusted with the instinct of someone who had survived too many impossible encounters to misinterpret the moment. The ninja emerged from the ruptured interior, boots silent against the trembling ice. His expression remained calm, yet his eyes held a sharp glint of awareness. The damage they had inflicted was substantial, but the Dominion's assassins were still lethal even without collective direction. They were trained individually as well as collectively, and their instincts had not been erased. The ninja surveyed the disoriented horde below, understanding that this moment of fragmentation was fleeting and precious. If the assassins recovered even a fraction of their coordination, the two operatives would be swallowed by sheer numbers. The Reaper broke the silence with a low, steady voice. "We need to leave before they adapt." His tone carried no fear, only an assessment sharpened by experience. He understood the difference between victory and survival, and he knew they had achieved the former only if they secured the latter. The ninja nodded once, trusting the judgment without question. Their partnership, once uncertain, had solidified in the crucible of combat. They sprinted toward the ridge, weaving between collapsing structures and stumbling assassins. Some attackers lunged with lingering precision, but their strikes arrived half a beat too late, and both operatives slipped past them with fluid efficiency. The Reaper used controlled bursts from his rifle to open paths through clusters of adversaries, while the ninja carved narrow passages with precise, minimal motion. Every step carried urgency, yet neither man allowed haste to dilute purpose. The ridge offered a brief vantage point over the turmoil below. What had been an immaculate formation now resembled a storm of fragmented instincts clashing against one another. The Dominion's strength had become its vulnerability, and the Reaper felt a grim satisfaction settle over him. It was not triumph, but confirmation that Earth's strategy had been correct. A small force with clear focus could shatter an army built on inflexible cohesion. Their stealth craft remained concealed beneath a thick drift of snow, untouched by the chaos. As they approached, the ninja paused, sensing vibrations behind them. A cluster of assassins, perhaps 50, had restabilized enough to pursue, their movements still uneven but deadly in intent. The Reaper turned, raising his weapon, but the ninja stepped forward with a quiet conviction. "Go," he said. "I will handle this." The Reaper hesitated, not out of doubt, but out of recognition. They had become a unit, and separation felt unnatural. Yet he saw the resolve in the ninja's posture and understood. He nodded once and boarded the craft, initiating power sequences. The ninja flowed into motion behind him, meeting the attackers with a lethal grace that required no witness. When he rejoined the Reaper aboard the craft moments later, breath steady and blade cleaned, the engines lifted them from the moon's surface. The Dominion's staging ground shrank beneath them, its order permanently broken. As stars stretched into lines and the craft surged toward Earth, neither operative spoke. Yet each understood the message their survival carried. Earth would not meet force with numbers, but with unwavering resolve embodied by those willing to stand where entire armies fell.